Welcome to the Light, Camera, Rant Podcast. Your source for the latest on movies, TV shows, and video games. Get ready for ranting, raving, and reviewing. Here is your host, Lee.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Lights, Camera, Rant. As always, I'm Mr. Rant, and who forgets to click the record button when you're trying to do a brand new episode? This guy does for at least 20 minutes of the damn show. But anyway, I would like to say hello to Martin from the Film vs. Film podcast, who I've got on for a very special episode. We are looking at the John Wick franchise because the 10th anniversary is upon us. How are you going, Martin? Again.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back again.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man.
That's all right. These things happen.
No. But yes, I couldn't think of a better guest for coming on to this episode. As I mentioned before, again and again, I can't believe the fact that we're at the 10th anniversary of the very first John Wick film. Something that revitalized Keanu Reeves' career, revised the action movie, and as you mentioned as well, so many films in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, really, that 4 films in 10 years, that's pretty impressive, especially when you think that certainly the last 2, 3, and 4, and to be fair, the second one, they're huge films. Like 3 and 4 are epics, especially the 4th one, nearly hitting 3 hours. That is an epic film, wall-to-wall action from pretty much start to finish. So to squeeze 4 big films in 10 years is pretty impressive. And when you look at when you can compare that with the James Bond franchise, we're still waiting for the next movie.
Yeah,
It's been like 5 years nearly.
And
that film was literally ready in 2020, and they delayed that, so it's 4 years now that have passed.
My God.
And still no announcement of a new Bond or anything. So I know it takes a lot to try and find the next James Bond and what your new tone is going to be with James Bond, etc. But that's still quite a long time, I would say. Whereas with this, they're very clear on what they want, very clear on the tone and the action style. And these are not easy films. Like, with the amount of production, that goes into these films, the last 2, they're traveling the world. The production design is so impressive. They look amazing. And the amount of training like Keanu has to go through at his age with 8711, pretty incredible, really.
And the first one was only on a budget of 30 million, and it only made 80 million dollars at the box office, and it pretty much was went underneath the radar. Like, unless you were like a big Keanu Reeves fan, not many people knew about John Wick.
Because I think there was this assumption that, Keanu Reeves is going down his geriatric action movie phase of his career, like Denzel Washington with the Equalizer films, like a few years ago before that, Liam Neeson with the Taken films and other action films that he keeps doing, non-stop.
Surely he's just a bad
so
father.
Many of them. Yeah. But you just not like great movies, especially like certainly the latter ones with Liam Neeson, but there was definitely a rivalry, I think, at the time in 2014 with the Equalizer and John Wick. And, I think fans were certainly divided. Like, I know a few people that preferred the Equalizer films, but then definitely came back to John Wick and John Wick's better.
Yeah.
But I can't think of another character since Neo in The Matrix that suits Keanu Reeves this well. I don't want to say he was born to play this character, because I don't think that's ever the case, really, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, he suits this character down to a T. I mean, it's widely reported and widely known that, Keanu Reeves is not the best actor in the world. He's never going to win an Oscar.
No.
But like this character is perfect for Keanu Reeves.
It suits him so well because like the character's already a bit quiet, sort of, and so is Keanu Reeves. Like he's
Yeah.
he's
Nicest
just
guy in the world as well.
yeah, nice guy, goes on the subway, does everything nice. No one can say a single bad word about Keanu Reeves at
Yeah.
all.
Mm.
And you look at John Wick, you're like, damn.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Like with the Equalizer, which I think they made 4 of those. Taken
3, I think. Yeah.
3. Taken they made 3, which I'm pretty sure the third one is terrible. From
Oh yeah,
that,
it's garbage. It's kind of laughable sometimes with Taken Free. I used to always go back to the jump over the fence, where it's literally like 16 cuts or something just for Liam Neeson to jump over a fence. I don't know whether they were just taking the piss or they were just trying to be genuine. I don't know, but yeah, that was hilarious.
he's gonna struggle a bit, and I'm pretty sure they made a prequel TV show too. I'm
Oh,
taking
really? Okay.
of
I
like
did not know that.
of like how he him working for the FBI. I'm like, really, like that. Oh, anything gets turned into a prequel TV show,
Yeah.
which John Wick. It's for me actually. I didn't see the first John Wick. I saw John Wick 2 with a friend,
All right.
and
Yeah.
he goes to me, "Haven't you seen number 1?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Dude, you need to watch number 1." He's like, "You really need to watch it." I'm like, "It can't be that good." He's like, "No, no, no. We were meant to go out somewhere," and he was like, "Nah, we're watching John Wick. Stuff it." So he scrapped the plans, and we watched it. At the end of the movie, I was like, "Holy fuck!"
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty good little action film, really. I think it kind of introduced this kind of gung fu style and just using like anything as a weapon. You know, and what I kind of think is special, certainly about the first 2 films, is that I love the bad guys in these films. That they really big up John Wick. They call him the Baba Yaga, and it's like the bad guys, like in the first one. I don't care what you did, I care who you did it to. You
Yeah,
literally killed the dog of the boogeyman. What the
yeah.
fuck? you know,
What's
Anyone
the
else's dog is fine, even though I'm not condoning killing dogs. Absolutely not. I mean, it's very tough seeing a dog being killed on screen in this one. It's like, oh
oh,
my god. But yeah,
it,
it's just I love that. I love how the villains like big up and mystify John Wick and build him up to feel like this incredible action guy, incredible presence as you go through the film. Because I think when you look at it on the face of it, I don't think the film does anything particularly special in terms of action with the first one, but it's just kind of how they do it. It's just kind of the style and the look and the feel of this film. Great music. You've got Marilyn Manson in there,
yeah,
which is great. So it's certainly stunt wise. If you're looking at it in terms of stunt and scale of action, it's not that impressive. It's just the style that really defines it as being something quite special and something to really build on in the future films. Just this whole idea that this is kind of like, obviously it's not really set in the real world at all, but
no,
there's
no,
underworld society, and that you have these continentals and all these continental hotels with all these rules of assassins that you can't kill anyone on continental grounds,
no,
um,
no, no.
and things like that. So they always kind of play with that in all the films. And obviously later in 2 you have the markers, a blood marker. So they're basically like, yeah, you have to kill some dude for me because you've given me your blood in this marker, and so you owe me one or whatever. And you've got all the coins. They introduced that in the first one, obviously, but yeah,
Which is
they even have their own currency,
yeah,
which
which
of assassins, which is cool.
100%. And that's the thing is what I do love about this film. It's not just It's just another revenge film. It's not just another, down on his luck kind of thing. Like it's very methodical of like
Mm,
this entire world. It's organized
mm,
assassins, pretty much a crime, really.
yeah.
And like pulling back to what you said about how God forbid, the iconic puppy scene is that
Mm,
one actual, which I have about 10 little tidbits here about the first John Wick, is that apparently the whole idea with John Wick's dog dying, that was still up in the air if that was going to stay in the movie until the first test
right.
screening.
Really?
Because
Okay. Yeah.
because Lionsgate was a bit like, oh, should we really show an animal getting harmed?
Yeah.
And their argument was like, well, it's going to be something really intense, not just his wife dying. It has because she was already dying because of cancer, but
Yeah.
it has to be something really decent to bring him back. And the one of the writers did say is as soon as they did that first test screening, saw how everyone reacted with the puppy, they were like, bingo. Yep.
Yeah. We're
That's
right behind right behind John Wick. Because I think in a lot of these type of revenge stories, like the wife or the husband or the son or the daughter dying, which is your source of pain and revenge, like we've seen that a lot. But when it's a dog, it's just like that's something else.
yeah,
You're just like, yeah, go kill every fucking motherfucker who did that.
yeah.
Involved with
Ex- ex-
that.
100%. I always love this. There's a clip of a comedian who goes, the first time I watched John Wick, I thought it was ridiculous. He's killing all these people because he's dog, and he's like, then I got a dog, and then I'm like, no, that's the most realist film ever.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's just kind of hilarious that because someone killed his dog, like just massive
Yeah,
escalation through the
all
rest
this.
of the franchise to take down the high table, you know.
That's that's it.
So some
Even
dude from Game of Thrones killed the Baba Yaga's dog.
exactly. That's all, and that's the thing. That's what I do. I love which you did touch on before as well. I love it. The first one is that it's almost a little bit Darth Vader esque in the sense that it's building up this hype about this person that we haven't seen do anything yet.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, everyone's afraid of him,
Mm,
and Virgo is telling the story to his son of
mm,
like, oh, like it's not the person you did it to. Sorry, it is the person that you did it to, son.
mm.
Like you killed his dog, you took his car,
Yeah.
and he's like, that's you mean that nobody? That's no nobody. That's John Wick.
Yeah, it's really great how the villains big him up, but I don't think it's like anything. I feel like we have seen that before in cinema with action films, but it's just the way it's presented, the way it's acted, it just gives you that thrill that, this could be something really special. And I just really kind of like that first scene. It's quite a somber first scene with John Wick. He's not heroic at all. He doesn't feel like a big killer. I mean, he's dying in the rain in that
Mm.
first scene. Obviously, you don't realize it's a flash forward at the time, but it's not you feel like, oh, okay, this guy has gone through some shit right now, and
Yeah,
like, is he gonna die? What's going on? Because it's just a very somber opening, and again, this somber feeling kind of continues in the opening with his wife's funeral, with all these flashbacks with no dialogue as well. So they do so much with no dialogue in the opening scenes to really establish the pain of this character that he's going through. Um, yeah, it's really quite an
that's
so there's certainly the tone of this is not like fun. It's not a fun action film. It's uh a very serious kind of tone with this, but I think you draw the fun through the action as the film goes. And I mean, when you get to John Wick 4, it's just like a lot of it is pure fun. Like
Yes.
the acting performance from Keanu Reeves in this first film is really freaking good. But when you go to the fourth one, it's just like sometimes he's not even required to act. He has very little dialogue. Half the time in the fourth one, he's just like all he says is, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes in certainly the fourth one, and when you compare it to this first one, it feels like someone has written a comic book of John Wick and they've literally just lifted the pages from that comic book right onto screen with John Wick 4, John Wick Chapter 4. Whereas this one, it feels more like a proper action thriller, you know, very dark, moody, stylish action thriller compared to the last one where they're like, okay, we have all the tools at our disposal. We're going to go nuts and just do what the fuck we want. Go all around the world. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that because, I mean, it looks incredible. The action is just insane in John Wick 4. But I just think with this one, there's certainly limitations. And of course, there will be with a $30 million budget. But it still looks great for what it is. And I feel like they're being really creative with the action. We're just watching the trailer right now. And this one. And again, I don't think we've ever really. But what's great about John Wick is that, as I said, like, I don't think, like, scale of action, I don't think it's doing anything particularly special, but it's just the way it's doing it. Just this gung fu style of that first action scene, especially in his house, that, you know, this really close combat stuff. And he's literally just shooting people in the head, like right by him. You know, he's right there shooting people in the head. And combining this kind of really stylish action with very messy judo, I find really kind of a really interesting tone there. So
Messy
it
judo.
brings,
Yeah. Now you say that. Yes. Yes.
it just brings this very like unpredictable type style with the action in all the films, really, because I feel like they really love doing the judo stuff, and that's definitely not very stylish at all, but I feel like it was always very important to Chad Stahelski and Keanu that they keep doing that, because that's kind of part of John Wick's style and they want to keep that at some points. Yeah.
And they keep it all the way through. And another thing is that as everything escalates from John Wick to John Wick 2, John Wick 3, and John Wick 4, the box office returns doubles with each movie.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
how
that's
much
just
money.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that's kind of just a reflection of just how popular like Keanu Reeves is, and just how people are buying into this kind of action style that, okay, people want to see Keanu kill more and more people in different ways, you know, with a book, with a magazine, with a pencil, as well as the traditional ways.
I remember in the cinema watching the third one, and when he kills the guy with the book, there was one guy in the front row just going, just clapping, just one person clapping.
Yeah.
And it's like,
So
yeah,
good.
100%. And it's definitely the third one. I feel like the third one, any way you could think someone was going to be killed, they were killed. So if you want to get killed by a sword, a gun, a horse, by a car, anything else you could dream of, someone died nearly different way every single time in the third one.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I think is special about the John Wick films, because I just feel it feels wrong kind of putting the John Wick films into the geriatric action franchise, because when you look at The Equalizer and the Taken films, with that kind of style of action, because they're older guys, Denzel Washington and Liam Neeson, they have to cut around these guys because of their age. They can't do everything. They have to bring in the stunt doubles. Yeah. Not to say they don't bring in the stunt doubles for Keanu. Of course they do at some points. But what's amazing about John Wick is that, and Gareth Evans does this with the Raid films as well, is that they utilize wide lenses really well, and they realize that audiences are not stupid. They cannot be fooled. So they've basically made Keanu do the majority of these stunts for real. Keanu is doing all of it. So they're like, okay, we're going to put wide lenses on here and actually just show you that he is actually doing it. We're not going to cut much. We're just going to do simple camera moves to make it look cool. But we're basically showing you, yeah, Keanu's doing all this, which I think makes it stand out compared to,
the other two.
Yeah, Taken and The Equalizer.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that there is so many videos. If you go back, there's so many videos to show of Keanu Reeves training for these movies that he has so much passion for this. And, he talks about in all the interviews how much passion he's got for this project, how much heart he goes into this. And you're right. Like, you see him pretty much in every action scene. There's not much cutaway. He's doing everything. Even I think it's the fourth one where was it the third one where he's struggling to get up, and you're like, yeah, I'd feel that too after 3 or 4 films. Like, your body must be wrecked.
He basically does that after every action scene in the fourth one. Because literally in the fourth one, the first action scene in Osaka feels like an epic conclusion to could be the epic conclusion to the first or second movie. It's that big, that first action scene in Osaka. Like any of the action scenes in the fourth one could feel like not just John Wick, like could be the climax to any action movie. It's that kind of not overblown, but just maybe, but it's that epic and in scale when you get to John Wick 4.
And it keeps escalating. That's one thing is like, yes, I know some people didn't like John Wick 2 and 3 and 4 for different reasons. But if you're adrenaline junkie, like these are stylized, as you said, very well in the gun fu style. Like it is, the film goes all the way through and it still keeps the exact heart. He still says at the end of 4 he wants to be buried with his wife, Helen. And everyone who's joining him just wants him to get out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's always, I feel like in the beginning, if we're talking story, like, he just wants revenge for his dog being killed because obviously his wife got him his dog. But then it just basically escalates to like, okay, he's in this world again now, which he didn't want to come back to. So by the end of the fourth one, it's just like, okay, I'm all in to take down the high table if he can. If that means he needs to kill everyone, then so be it, And it definitely feels like he has to kill every single one of their men,
Which he does.
When
you think about how many bodies there are by the end of 4, you're like, yeah. When he said, "I'm coming after everyone," he really does. And I need guns, lots of guns.
Yeah,
all the way through. And that's another thing is a little tidbit about this, which I think is a great change. This film was actually called Scorn.
Right. Okay.
It was really called Scorn. However, the reason the title changed was because Keanu Reeves kept referring to the film as John Wick.
Okay. Right.
So they were like, that just sounds better. Let's just do that. And originally, which is funny because you're comparing this to Taken and Taken to Equalizer, is that in this original script, John Wick was meant to be 75 years old.
Oh, really? Yeah.
In the original version, which I'm glad they changed that. Yeah, I know.
I'd like to have seen that. To be fair, a 75-year-old man take down.
Well, if they do John Wick 5,
yeah, he will be that old, frankly.
Yeah, pretty much. And
yeah, he did fake his death. Now he's 75, still kicking ass.
Yeah,
still
going.
2-story buildings, hits a van, and is fine.
Yeah, it's still fine. Gets shot. His legs are pretty much crippled. Has fallen off many, many things, but he's
Mhm.
still fine and he's
Yeah.
still ready to go.
What we didn't know is he phoned his mate called Wolverine and got some metal implants.
Yeah,
So it's fine.
Uh, but that's the thing is what I do love about this film is like, yes, this is absurd, but I do love how nothing two and three and four, nothing seems rehashed. Like it always do something
Yeah.
new. They're always
Yeah.
upping the ante. Keanu Reeves and Chad know what the mission is at hand. They know why the audience is coming to this film, but know every action scene is amped up to 11 from the previous one.
Absolutely. And I feel
So
like
you'd go into the Fast and the Furious franchise. They went to John Wick 5.
yeah. No one wants to see John Wick in space. Even though I think he could make it work, but I don't think people want that.
Yeah, the gun fu still works perfectly fine in space.
Yeah. But I
No
think that's
questions
just
asked.
But I think that's just the way like action films are made these days. You have that with the Mission Impossible films.
Mm.
You know, Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie basically discuss, so what do we want to do? What stunts do we want to do? And let's build a story around that. And I think it's very much the same with the John Wick films. I know I remember Keanu Reeves saying for John Wick 3, he was just like, I want to be on a horse.
Yes, yes, he
And they
does.
just built a story around that. You're like, okay, let's work this out, and they did.
Sure. Yeah. What else would you like? Like, do you want to go to Paris?
Yeah,
Do you want to go do something else?
Berlin.
Yeah, Berlin. What type of people do you want to kill? All of it. But no, and another little tidbit is that for the writer Derek, who helped write the script, it was John Wick was actually named after his grandfather as well. His
Oh,
grandfather's
nice.
so there actually is a legit John Wick, but
Cool.
nothing like the one we get.
No, absolutely not.
And John Wick's gone from John Wick 2, 3, 4. We've got the spin-off show called The Continental with Winston.
Oh yeah.
We've got an anime series that's currently in the works, which I'm very interested to see how that's going to look. And then we've got Ballerina that's coming out next year, which we were talking about, which we're both a little bit nervous. It's been delayed by a year.
Yeah, that's. I'm not. I mean, I think it'll be a good film. I like Anna de Armas. Obviously, John Wick, Keanu Reeves is going to pop up in that one. But to be honest, out of all the kind of the spin-off prequels that have been announced, I'm actually most excited for the anime TV show, to be honest, because I feel like it feels quite natural that it's going to be anime, because obviously there's been a lot of like Asian characters in this franchise, and you have a whole sequence in Osaka, and just the artwork from the posters alone for John Wick 4 especially were gorgeous, so gorgeous. So I'm just like, yes, please animate this shit up. And I feel like, I saw Blue Eye Samurai last year. Was it last year or this year? I can't remember. Time goes all over the place now for me. But yeah, I saw Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix, and that's anime, more of certainly some Western writers on that, but that was so beautiful to watch. I'm not a big anime guy. I haven't watched many animes, so I'm just like, I really want to get into it more, and I feel like a lot of Western writers, and with Hollywood, they want a piece of that anime action. You have that with like Star Wars as well, with Star Wars Visions, the TV show, with the anthology stories with that. And I loved all those. I still need to catch up on those. I feel like the fans from the Western world, they're loving their anime more and more. So I'm just like, I think that's certainly for a lot of big franchises now. if there's a way into creating something in anime, they'll do it, and it all kind of another one that's come into my head, that little sequence in Kill Bill. That's all kind of anime.
Yes.
There's a little sequence there which I loved at the time. Yeah, so I'm all for it. And you can definitely feel, certainly just from an action standpoint, with John Wick, that there's the Hong Kong action cinema influences here for sure. With the gung fu, with I feel like they've watched things like the Chow Chun Fat films.
Yes.
If I might have butchered that, but yeah,
No. I know what you mean.
Hard Boiled and things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Hong Kong and anime stuff is really influencing influencing Hollywood.
No, 100%. And I agree with you. I think the anime series, because of the character that is John Wick, you could slide him into it perfectly. And depending on the style, it could look very, very sleek and visually beautiful to watch. Definitely taking more inspiration from John Wick 4 opposed to the first one. The report is that it is indeed meant to be a prequel, so we might
Right.
get prime John Wick. The rumor is that it might be doing to do with what the impossible task is that laid all the bodies in the foundation, the first one, which I hope they don't touch that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I feel like it's one of those things that leave it, have the mystery, have of what it
Definitely.
was. I always think about Solo. I'm like, okay, that's how he got the ship. That's how he got the gun.
Good care.
Yeah, that's how he won it. Cool.
I've only seen that film once, really. Like the end of that film is just so disappointing for me. I was I'm a big Star Wars guy, and I've not had the desire to rewatch it.
It is the least Star Wars film I've gone back. I would rather watch the Christmas special.
Yeah.
That's how much. It just seemed, I'm like, I don't know, it's probably one of those films I look at like, was this really necessary to make this? Like, out of everything else that's on the Star Wars lore, Knights of the Old Republic, everything else, I'm like, really? Like, this was the idea of like, well, if we should make this. I'm like, you should, if you wanted to make this, it should be made like 15, 20 years ago when Harrison Ford was a lot younger.
Yeah. You know what Star Wars needs to do, Disney Star Wars? They need to create a character for Keanu Reeves, and I think he will save Star Wars. Give that dude a lightsaber and we're all good.
Come on, like how many times have you seen all the fan artwork of him holding a lightsaber?
Yeah.
Or I'm pretty sure if you go on, I've seen it before, is where someone's put a lightsaber in his hand when he's doing all the action scenes in John Wick.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I'm like, sold. Do it for the entire movie and I'll watch it.
I've seen that a lot in Game of Thrones as well.
Yes.
Like the action in that, sticking lightsaber. It's so easy to do, I think, as well. So,
yeah. It works, doesn't it?
You've got a dab hand with a computer,
That's all you need. But and that would look good, for, not to mention, not only is Mr. Wick in all of this, John Wick's also in Fortnite. He's the only skin.
Okay.
Yep, he's the only Fortnite skin I've bought.
Nice.
I was like, if I'm gonna spend any money, I'm buying a John Wick one, and his weapon is a samurai sword. Or a pistol.
Cool.
I was like, yeah. Magic, no. I was like, yeah, that's a good $15 good spent right there.
Yeah.
And not to mention how good it is watching all these action scenes, and he still wears a suit.
Oh yeah. What do you think about like the Kevlar suits? I think it's a great idea. I do feel like certainly in the fourth one, they kind of just maybe use that as an excuse for him just to get piled on with bullets so he can just shoot everyone else.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I mean, certainly John Wick 4, there is an element where it does feel very video gamey, and maybe there's an argument to say with the wide lenses, you're like, which is a great thing to do. Obviously, that we've already discussed that you're showing Keanu do all this stuff, and obviously all the people he's killing, they're doing all this stuff, all these intricate moves. But there are times, certainly in the fourth one, and maybe a little bit in the third one, where you're just like, okay, the bad guy's aim is really bad. You have an opportunity to kill John Wick right now.
Oh, they're just like stormtroopers.
Yeah, a little bit. So I feel like
Right.
with the I like the idea of the Kevlar armor, but it gets to the point where he just does that with his jacket.
I
pulls
know.
it up to
I was thinking the same
up
thing.
to
We
his
just does a
chin,
little.
it's like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah, that's all
They
you
kind of
need.
treat the Kevlar suit like it's full on body armor.
Yeah. And are you when you say video game, are you talking about when he's in the old building and the camera like goes up
Yeah, I
above?
mean, definitely that. Yeah, I mean, that's not my favorite because I mean, this is just my pet peeve was when films do
Ooh.
that and you can see when you can see directly below and you can see like the walls that separates the rooms out. I'm just like, well, in real life you wouldn't be able to see
No.
that. You're just seeing the roof. But
That's it.
I can, because John Wick is so good and so epic, I can give that a pass. And it's a cool little thing that they're trying and they're doing, and I can appreciate that, but it still niggles me a little bit.
Just a little bit of gripe.
Yeah, but
And nothing. You didn't have any gripe about the long action scene with the stairs.
oh no, I think that works really well because you have all that time where he gets to the top and then he falls all the way back down. That just works so well. And then Kane comes back, and yeah, I think because it's so long, it makes it work even better.
I there's one time I've looked at my phone for looked at the time because I was like, nah. As soon as he fell down the stairs, I'm like, he's not going to do this whole scene again, is he? Sure he is. And they all come down the stairs. They all do the exact same thing. And I'm like, yep. Of course, it's John Wick. Almost definitely 3 and 4. He becomes that superhero mode.
What's great about John Wick 4 as well is that for me is that they don't just rely on Keanu in the film. You have Sanada in there as the manager of the Ahsoka hotel, and you've got Donnie Yen as Kane. They have a fight scene together, which doesn't have John Wick in at all. I mean, Donnie Yen is fantastic in John
IP
Wick
man.
4. Just incredible. The fact that he's a blind man as well.
Yeah.
And so he's doing all these intricate, fast moves, not just with his fist, with a cane, and he's acting as if he's blind while he's doing it, which is just incredible. And they definitely have a lot more fun in John Wick 4 compared to the first one. Certainly the first two is just establishing this style and this tone. And when you get to 3 and 4, the fun factor kind of comes through, and I just love bits with Keanu Reeves where he's got the nunchucks in the fourth one, and he's just got someone's head at a table, and he's just going.
That's a long scene too.
Yeah,
like
and he literally just does nunchuck moves for no reason in between other dudes, while he's waiting for other guys to come.
Yeah.
And you've got Donnie Yen as well, who literally winds up his fist before he finishes someone up, like he's a cartoon character. Yeah, it's
I remember.
I love this element of fun in it, and again, but it still keeps the style in there, and you can definitely feel a lot of like influences, not just from Hong Kong cinema, but you've got Western influences as well. Right at the end, with basically a duel, and it feels very Westerny like that. Yeah, so
they
they have a lot of fun with it in those last two for sure. because
They
they
do.
have so many resources at their disposal.
Oh, we got more Mauler this time. I
Yeah,
do love the ending with the duel. It's like
yeah.
Winston's like, "You're an idiot. He didn't shoot." And just hit the guy's realization, like, "Oh,
Definitely.
it's just so good." And it's out of I gotta say probably about 4. But if you're going to go back to one, would you always go
Mm.
back to the 4th one, or would you for a
I
rewatch?
think well, I haven't seen the third. I think with the third one is probably my least
Parabellum.
favorite. Not by much, to be honest, because I feel like I love all the dog stuff with Halle Berry and all the dog action, and they bring that back for John Wick 4 with Mr. Nobody, which is great. But yeah, the dog action is great. The car action, I think, annoyingly, like with John Wick 4, there's that great sequence on the bikes and the swords.
Such an iconic shot.
Yeah,
Like that badassery all there.
yeah, but that's all done on the green screen.
I know. Don't
Yeah.
ruin it for me.
So I think they really did try and figure out how to do it for real. Having all these guys on bikes with swords, but they just couldn't do it safely, I guess. So, because there's another film that they got influenced by called The Villainess, which is really great, a Korean or Japanese, I can't remember, but an action
Oh.
film, which is really cool and does a similar thing, a similar action scene. So they definitely tried to like replicate that, but they just couldn't work it out, I guess, or maybe run out of time, run out of money. But also with John Wick 3, it's just I feel like maybe the escalation of action, the scale of action just didn't feel right. Because
Mhm.
I think I know that a big influence on certainly the 2 and 3 was Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee's film. And I feel like half the time in John Wick 3, Keanu Reeves is just being thrown through glass.
Ah, yeah.
Which is it kind of gets a
Again,
little funny,
again,
and
and
I just feel
again.
like, the it just feels like a little samey in that last action scene, and that I don't think they do enough to really make it feel different. So which is not a huge criticism, but I just feel like I feel like they do run out of steam a little bit. A little bit. And not to
Just a
say
little bit.
John Wick 3 is a bad film, absolutely not, but it's just my least favorite out of the 4.
No, I would have to say for myself, it's probably 2. For me, like
Really? Okay.
yeah, I liked it, but like I felt like
'Cause that's my favorite. John Wick 4,
oh,
John Wick 2.
for outside the first John Wick, it's for me it would be 4, 3, 2.
Right.
2, I don't know. I got like don't get me wrong, 2 has the best ending. Like talk about
Oh, yeah, yeah.
tension, tension all rising. As soon as he kills, I forgot his name. As soon as he kills him in Continental Grounds, you're just like,
Mm.
fuck.
D'Antonio or something. He's a great villain as well.
Yeah.
So Weasley and just
Oh,
Italian.
yeah. Do you know a man can eat so many meals? He can have a different meal every single day. He could stay here for a lifetime. Eh.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I I might need to go back and watch John Wick too. It's just
Yeah.
I don't know, just like a couple of I just felt like the action scenes were good, but I felt like the story was just stronger in the third one and the fourth one.
Okay.
More,
Yeah.
more of the world. Um, but out of all 4, I'd say yeah, John Wick is the least one I've gone back and watched.
Well, it's the latest
Um,
one, isn't it? Yeah. Well, and it's huge. It's really long.
that's I know,
I think
and
I think for me about John Wick 2 is that I think it just combines like the tone and the character really well with the action. I love all the stuff with Common, the hitman, and I love the scenes. I just feel it's really quite creative with the limitations they've got. I think I love John Wick 4 as well, but I just feel like the acting side of things is kind of brushed aside, certainly for Keanu Reeves' character. Action wise, it's incredible. I love the action and the cinematography, but I feel like it all kind of the balance is just all there with John Wick 2. I love, the like the catacomb scene in
Yes, it's
Rome, I
got
think. I can't
yeah.
remember. With the
I,
shotgun and the assault rifle. And I think what's another thing that Chad Stahelski and I think Keanu is really kind of passionate about is just the fact that, as we've already said, that Keanu is doing all the stunts himself, but just like all the gun work himself, like all
yeah.
the real reloading of these big guns. And I feel like that's the only film where he's using like really big guns, like a massive shotgun, a massive assault rifle, and he knows these guns inside out in that particular scene. It just feels really good, and I love the kind of the sommelier scene with I can't remember his name now, where he's basically talking about all these guns like they're wine.
Oh yes, I
you
love
know
that scene. It's like, oh, what does he say? Oh, I would like a tasting.
yeah, that is so cool. And I think
Yeah,
it's the first film where it kind of expands the world a bit more
yeah.
and expands all these rules a bit more with, the marker, more about the
Mm.
money, more about the high table, that it's more global. This world is more global. Um, yeah, and I love the scene with Common where they're literally just in this subway, I think. Keanu's up top walking along this balcony, Commons walking alongside on ground level, and they're literally doing like little pop shots at each other. It's kind of ridiculous, but kind of
Yeah.
hilarious at the same time.
It works.
And like as if they're trying to hide the fact that they're having a gunfight. I just find
Right.
that so genius. And it obviously
Discreetly.
brings in Lawrence Fishburne, and you have kind of the homeless underworld of assassins as well. So I just think the
The
balance of
pigeons.
action, the scale, and all the new stuff, it all kind of balances really well in John Wick 2.
No, the world definitely does expand. I will agree with you. I do love the tasting scene. That is
Mm,
such a good scene.
yeah.
And unfortunately, his house. The second one, his house goes. It blows up his house.
Yeah, second one, yeah.
Yeah. So lost your wife, lost your dog, lost your house. So what else? What
Yeah.
else could you
And
lose,
has
sir?
the best villain, I think, as well, in my opinion.
Ooh, oh,
Mr. Rant does not agree.
yeah. I nah. Okay, definitely the most slimiest. The most one I'd say you want a bullet in his head.
All right. Yeah, yeah.
I'd say definitely the one you're like very happy that he does die at the
Mm.
end of it. Like you deserved it, you prick.
Yeah, I think Bill Skarsgård is great in John Wick 4 as well. And like his accent is kind of I think I
Oh yeah, here we
think
go.
it's
Here we go.
good. I think it's good, but I just feel like you kind of want to kill him more. You want John Wick to kill him more because he's putting on a French accent that they've hired that they've hired Bill Skarsgård to play a French guy. And obviously, being a British person, we're not too friendly with the French. So I'm just like,
Kill
yeah, kill
him.
that dude.
Kill him now. Just save everybody some time and kill him now.
Yeah, but I think he's got a great menacing quality, Bill Skarsgård, and I love that little scene with the tracker where he sticks a knife in his hand. You're like, oh, okay, there's something about him. He's just not a pawn for the high
High
table to
table.
use.
Yeah.
He's got some combat skills about him, which is interesting. And then I feel like they are hiding a lot with him, but I don't think they really show it. But yeah, it's just a great little scene, as you say, where Vincent's like, "You idiot, he hasn't shot yet,
Yeah.
and you're dead."
Yeah. Straight off.
Yeah.
All as well as with all four John Wicks. The
Mm.
IMDb rating only one. It's interesting. Out of all four films, only one film has the highest DB rating. And which film do you think that would be?
I'm going. I'm going the fourth one, highest.
Ding ding ding. So John Wick 4, 7.4. John Wick
Right.
2, 7.4. John Wick 3, 7.4. John Wick 4, 7.7.
Oh wow, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just I think when you look at John Wick 4, like story wise, it's pretty basic. It feels very much like a video game in terms of its story as well. He's got to go to this place to get this, got to go to this place to sort this out.
You go get the
Yeah.
MacGuffin.
Yeah, got to get to this place before the time runs out. So I think story, it doesn't do anything too special, and they kind of tie it back to his wife as well. And there's this just underlying feeling of just like, oh, okay, he could die in this, which is kind of a great way to go for your last film, potentially last film.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think what's just so impressive about John Wick 4 is just the scale of the action. I know I've said that quite a lot already, but
It's massive.
I was beaming with laughter at some of just happiness of just how amazing some of these action scenes are. Like the stuff in the Arc de Triomphe, where you have all these cars whizzing round and they're literally having a fight. And it just reminded again a video game, that game where you've got to get a guy to try and get across the traffic.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
it's basically that in a John Wick
Yeah.
film.
That's one of the better scenes from that film. I love that because it's you always forget the fact that so much is going on with all the cars.
Yeah. Oh, and a car has taken that dude out. Oh
Yeah,
shit! And
yeah. Boom.
there's I think what my favorite part in that film is when I think a dude gets knocked over by a car. He's spinning in the air, and John Wick puts 3 bullets in him while he's spinning in the air. It's so hilarious and epic. It's so funny. And you kind of have that. I think what's great about these films is that they really try and find creativity where they can. And even in the first one, I love the fact that towards the end, um, he's in the car and he knocks someone over, and as the guy is going over the bonnet and over the top of the car, John Wick is literally shooting him through the
Yes,
car as
yeah.
he's getting
Ah,
knocked over. It's so good.
ju-
I just kind of love the excess of action. I mean, there's definitely occasions in John Wick 4 where there's literally dudes on the floor, apparently dead, and John Wick's just like, okay, I need to make sure. Bang, bang,
yeah,
and they're not moving. He's still
yeah.
shooting them.
Still gonna takes him out. Oh, is
Yeah.
it's the third one when he has the action scene inside the gun shop, kills
Oh
everybody.
yeah.
There's still one guy moving, doesn't have a gun, grabs an axe, and
Oh,
just
so good. Yeah, the
thro-
knife shop. The knife throwing. That was
no,
so
yeah,
cool.
throws it just to take him out. He does the whole doesn't do it cool with like one arm. He does the whole body
Yeah.
throw and gets him in the side of the head.
Yeah. Literally, that's background to foreground as well with the
Mm,
impact. So it's like, whoa, okay.
yeah, I know. And it's another thing is I find it interesting is why I'm looking at this is that we're looking at the meta scores. Look on that side of things. John Wick 4 is 78. John Wick 3 is 73. John Wick 2 is 75. John Wick is 68.
Mm. Yeah, I guess, you know, as I say, like in terms of scale, like John Wick 1 is not that big, really. And they're really trying to
It's not
find
bad.
creativity where they can. And the style is so good. I mean, there's certainly occasions where in John Wick 1, I think when he's got this assault rifle and he's trying to take out, and they're outside and he's trying to take out a lot of them, and he just gets knocked over by a car from behind. That's when he gets captured. I feel like that would just not happen in the later films where he would just get captured that easily. I feel like there is an element of they're really just trying to find their feet with this character a little bit in terms of how they're telling the story with
Mm.
action. You can definitely feel that. Um, but again, I feel like they really kind of when what we talked about in with my podcast on Blade, where there's lots of
Go
little
check that out. Go check that out. That's a
yeah,
good.
there's a lot of like little action scenes to kind of move the story along in Blade, and you have that a little bit here with the stuff that's going on with Willem Dafoe's character, the sniper.
I still feel sad that he died in the first one.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah. I mean, I would have loved to have seen Willem Dafoe again, and also, what's his name? John, the mechanic guy.
Oh, Ortheo? No,
John Leguizamo.
yes, yeah. Which he,
Leguizamo. I don't know.
which he has one of the best scenes as well. Is like, I heard
Yeah.
you struck my son. Oh yeah, because he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. Oh,
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, see ya.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's in the first two. Obviously only has a few scenes, but they kind of
Yeah.
ditched his character, which is a bit of a shame. I would love to have seen him in 3 and 4.
Well, actually, I'm
Um,
pretty sure there's only just recently about him that he shot scenes for John Wick 2.
oh no, he is in John Wick 2.
Yeah,
Do
he's
you
in
mean
John
a
Wick.
different one?
Oh no, John Wick 3. Oh yeah, he did shoot some scenes that they got cut though.
Ah, right. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, because he's always great in anything, in my opinion. I always remember him in
especially Sid, right? In Ice Age. Is that what you're talking about?
absolutely. Yeah. No, I always remember him in Executive Decision with Steven Seagal, where Steven Seagal gets killed pretty early on. But yeah, he's great in Executive Decision with Halle Berry as well. So
Oh, I need to add that to my list.
Mhm.
How do you feel about John Wick 5? So as there has been talks about John Wick 5, and the last update is that Chad said the script has gone through various iterations, but it would not move forward unless him and Reeves are 100% satisfied with the story. The filmmaker
Right.
revealed for that project would not continue directly from Chatware 4, but will be a separate storyline. No.
I mean, if it's a separate storyline, surely John Wick ain't in it then.
No.
I don't know. I just
it.
feel like at the end of John Wick 4, his story is finished.
Yeah.
Like, I would be very happy if they kept him dead.
100%.
Yeah.
Let's get it from the dog's point of view.
Yeah. Yeah. A prequel film with a dog.
Exactly right. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I've lost my wife and my owner's dead. I'm going to take him out.
Well, because obviously at the end of John Wick 4, there is a post-credit scene with Kane and
Yes.
the Japanese guy's daughter, and she flips the knife out as Kane is seeing wants to see his own daughter. So I'm guessing if they were going to do a John Wick 5, obviously can't call it John Wick 5, because obviously isn't it with Ballerina, they're calling it Ballerina a John Wick saga or a John Wick story or something. They've got John Wick in the subtitle.
Yeah.
So I guess they would just call it
universe.
Kane, a John Wick saga, a John Wick story, or whatever. I don't know. Like they did with Mad Max, they call it Furiosa, a Mad Max saga.
Story.
Yeah.
Yes, which unfortunately I don't think we'll be getting a sequel to that. Sorry,
No.
Mad Max 2.
Yeah, well, Furiosa 2.
But isn't Furiosa 2 Mad Max?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Furiosa is a prequel to yeah.
See, that's what I mean. Like 2, technically 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's right. I don't think they need to touch John Wick. Like, don't do John Wick 5. Look, don't oversell. See how Ballerina looks like, how Ballerina goes. Not to mention, I'm also looking at here that apparently there's been talks about Atomic Blonde crossover with Charlize Theron, a Nobody crossover, even a Sophia crossover with, Sophia spin-off movie with Halle Berry.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's been up to, and The Bower King with Lawrence Fishburne has also been in talks as well.
I feel like they're just putting all their characters that could remotely work and just talking about it and see if it could be a movie, because there's a lot of characters that they've introduced, so they're just like, okay, let's see if this could work and see where
Who
it
gets a
goes. But
spin-off?
yeah, literally
Well,
spin the bottle type situation.
yeah, who's it going to land on? Well,
Yeah,
I've also got here that also that the sequel for Ballerina has already been greenlit. It's already in development.
really, okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
producer Erica Lee stated the studio has tentative plans to develop a sequel to Ballerina with Anna de Remus to already set to reprise her role.
Oh, right, okay. Maybe then they're very confident in it, and that we're wrong, and we shouldn't be worried that it's been delayed a whole year with a slightly dodgy director who doesn't have a great track record.
No, he's
Uh,
only done the Underworld films and the Total Recall reboot, which I do not rate at
mm.
all.
But I do like Anna de Armas. I think she's a great actress, and obviously we know she can do action with the latest Bond film, No Time to Die. Definitely one of the best things in that film. Um, Anna de Armas. So yeah, if the first one's good, yeah, why not? I'm not a person that's just like, oh no, they should stop doing sequels. Should stop doing all these films. Just keep it as one or whatever. I'm the type of first person um of like, if the script is good enough, if the film is good enough, why
Yeah,
not? If it's good, if it's great, do it.
no,
Why
exactly
not?
right. Don't go if it's just half baked. But
Yeah.
do would you have thought of after watching John Wick 1 that he would have lasted to a fourth film?
No, absolutely not. I don't think he would have done, but I mean, he's not averse to franchises like The Matrix. But obviously, that first Matrix film was revolutionary, frankly,
Mm.
for cinema, and just such a high bar. And you could, a lot of other films were basically replicating the
Oh,
style of The Matrix in that time in the early noughties.
yeah, still
But
now.
obviously, the worry was obviously going into John Wick was the fact that Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions weren't great, and
No.
you're looking back at them now, especially Reloaded, like the CGI is really bad. It's very dated.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas, so you have an element of trepidation, I think, post John Wick. But I feel like John Wick is grounded enough to think like, yeah, I think sequels would really work. And they did.
And
They really, really
and
did.
and they do every single one. So just as a comparison, we said 30. So originally, first John Wick had a budget of 30 million and made 80 million in the box office. John Wick 2 only had a budget of 40 million and it made $174 million at the box office. John Wick 3 had a budget of 75 million.
Mm,
So even less. Sorry, more made him $327 at the box office.
yeah.
And then John Wick 4 had a budget of that's the soundtrack, Lee. Right. John Wick 4 had a budget of 100 million and it made $440 million at the global box office.
Wow. That's really impressive.
So
Yeah, you could really feel just the anticipation for all of the films, and just because the scale of action is so big, you're always, because I was just at the end of 3, I was just like, how the hell are they gonna top 3?
oh,
Like, how?
110%. Yeah.
Um, I know certainly in some scenes, I think they definitely pushed the bar of just like, okay, John Wick should have died, right? Especially that scene
Right
where he
there.
literally just jumps out of that building, lands on a van,
I know.
you
I
know?
know, but he's fine. He's just
Yeah.
limping.
And he gets knocked
That's
over by 3 cars as well, I think,
yeah.
in Paris. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, it definitely pushes reality a lot, but I feel like they kind of felt like they needed to in the 4th one as well. But,
Yeah.
yeah, it's I think it was just that feeling in audiences of just like, I wanna see this because 'cause I'm like, I have no idea what they're gonna do, because because you feel like they've done all they can do in the previous two.
That's exactly right. As like I said to you in the third one, everyone on whatever crazy way you think someone could die dies in that film, and you are left in the third one going, how are you going to top this in a 4?
Yeah.
And pretty much I think everyone I spoke to was like, he has to die in the 4th one. There's no way you can walk away from this unscathed.
Yeah, it's kind of great as well that they had the confidence to actually kill him as well, because I feel like there's too many franchises out there that are afraid to kill their character. Obviously it was kind of a bit controversial with James Bond in No Time to Die as well, because like he's not supposed to die. He never dies. 50, 60 years of history, he doesn't die. So that was kind of interesting in that producers of these films are feeling more confident of killing their heroes now and just creating a birth to death story like you have in biopics, I guess, with their action heroes, that they're not afraid to kill them.
Well, you got to tell that to Tom Cruise.
Yeah. I mean,
we are up to
it'd be interesting.
8.
I mean, there are reports that he doesn't want to end it at 8. He wants to keep going.
I know. Well, I saw someone's tweet that was like, I was like, there's 8 Mission Impossible films. I'm starting to think these missions are very possible.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, well, it's interesting though. You've got John Wick and Bond. They've killed their characters. Obviously, all in air quotes to a certain extent, of course. But so is that an influence? Will that be an influence on Chris McQuarrie and Tom Cruise? Of like, okay, should we kill Ethan Hunt? Who knows? So
I don't think if you get to 8, you can't ride off into the sunset.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Yeah,
like you're past the point. Like if you go past 3, I feel like no, you can't ride off into the sunset. Like you need to go.
Yeah.
For the film to actually have weight. And after this entire journey, you still get the girl and you walk away unscathed. Like you can't.
Because I feel like you're always going to leave the door open for another film. Because as we all know, Tom Cruise doesn't age. So
no. And,
there's always room if you don't kill the character.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I saw a report just the other day as we're recording this, is that they're looking to make a sequel to Days of Thunder.
Oh yeah, I saw that as well.
I was like, all right, what? Like, grabs a shovel. All right, what other Tom Cruise franchise can we dig up? I'm like, I'm sorry, they're ready for risky business too.
Get that dude back in his pants and shirt.
Do it. Don't care how old he's going to be to do it. He jumps out of an airplane.
Doesn't age.
Yeah. We're all waiting for The Mummy 2 with Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Absolutely not.
Crickets. But you're exactly right. If you reach that long, you can't live. You can't live. And I think it was a great idea that they had John Wick die from 4. That puts a good stamp on his story. Doesn't have to be. And I'm also glad they didn't do an after credits scene of, I know they would have done the hand coming out of the grave, but not like you.
That's horror movie territory, right there.
Yeah, but you're not like you saw him, like he was walking somewhere and the dog walked up to him and sat and realized, nothing like he's still alive.
But obviously they did do one with Kane, a post-credit scene with Donnie Yen. So I'm like, yeah, I would love to see a Donnie Yen movie in the John Wick universe. Absolutely. I mean, Donnie Yen is just so good in this film. I just love the sequence where he's putting kind of these proximity doorbells on in the Ahsoka Continental. To when dudes come close to it, it makes a ding dong noise and shoots them.
Ding.
Yeah, everything's just so slick with that guy. And I just kind of love this whole kind of dynamic in the story of John Wick 4 that Donnie Yen and John Wick had a past, and then they used to be friends, and yet Kane is literally helping John Wick get up these stairs so he can kill him later. You know,
I'll help you because
so he can
I
free
need
his
to.
daughter, free himself to see his daughter. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah, really,
such a great dynamic.
You really him see his daughter? Oh, come on, man, that's a bit rich.
Yeah, so I'd love to see a new film with him, for sure.
I'd be down. I would definitely be down to go see another film with him in it. And I still remember when they announced that Donnie Yen was going to come into John Wick 4, and I was like, yes. Are you telling me the IP man is joining John Wick 4? I don't need to see a trailer. I'm done.
Yeah.
And here we are a year later. I was
just him saying like him doing like the Fist of Fury stuff on one guy just made me smile ear to ear. I was just like, that's awesome. Just for that few seconds. I'm in for the rest of this film.
I'm sold. Say no more.
Yeah.
I could sit back.
And also another character played by Scott Adkins, I feel like just shows the confidence of this franchise up until this point in John Wick 4, where he's playing a German guy in a fat suit.
No, yeah.
And kind of the production design in general, but especially in that scene of just, it's so kind of ridiculous and brash. And, you know, you've got really fancy stylized backlighting with these neon lights, and they're playing a game of cards.
Just a card game.
You know, Scott Adkins has got gold teeth, and he's a proper action guy as well. And the fact that he's literally this huge dude doing, you know, flying spin kicks on John Wick was hilarious. Just that whole, I think that could be one of my favorite scenes in the film as well. That whole that Berlin sequence with all the water, it's just beautiful stuff with all the action and the axe work and they're just covered in water. With all the lighting, it just looks so gorgeous,
so cool to watch. And now you've actually reminded me, one of my most points I made about John Wick 4 was that this film, just the cinematography and the shots is just beautiful to look at. After one, they just keep getting better. It's just a world action flick. It's so good to watch. And that scene in the nightclub with the water, how much I'm like, you should be dead. There's no way you should still be walking around after falling down and kicking each other that much. You should be alive. But it's just good. It's just awesome to watch. It's just not another, you know, daylight scene. It's not a Fast and Furious type of action scene. You know, it's just stylized. It's sleek.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it's not a John Wick film if you don't have a nightclub scene.
No.
I haven't seen the third one in a while, but I can't remember if that's actually got one in, but I know the others do. So yeah, I feel like it's not a John Wick film if you don't have a nightclub scene, frankly, with neon lights. It's dark, you know, John Wick has got to be blasted in red, green, or blue light. You know,
has to be. And not to mention, I think one thing we forgot to talk about is that in the second one, we actually see John Wick kill someone with a freaking pencil.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another appeal of all the films as they come out. It's just like, okay, how is John Wick going to kill someone? How differently is he going to kill someone with a particular object, you know?
Yeah, a book for a third one.
Yeah, pencil second one, book third one. Fourth one, I don't know whether they actually go down that route. I can't remember, but nunchucks. I guess the nunchucks is the thing there, isn't it?
1,
the new thing.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Because the second one's still.
Oh, I guess he flicks. He sort of flicks Scott Adkins with a playing card and cuts his throat. Doesn't kill him, but
that's
very much hurts him big time.
Yeah, Yeah, there you go, playing card for that one. That's right.
Yeah.
It's as good as the action scenes, you also get that little tidbit of something absurd. Because I remember after watching, when I watched the second one, I was like, he literally just got a fucking pencil and just
Yeah.
drew it in that guy's brain.
Yeah.
Like, goddamn, anything can be a weapon. Anything.
Absolutely.
So looking forward,
Yeah.
do you think with John Wick that in another 10 years, 20th anniversary, that we'll still be looking at this film, still looking back on one of the top action films of this decade, and arguably the upper echelon of action films of all time? Do you also think that in 20 years' time, sorry, another 10 years' time, is that we will start having discussions of a
I don't think so, no, because I just feel like Keanu Reeves just fits this character so well, and I just don't think fans will accept anyone else in the role. This is not like this is not like a James Bond type character where it's there's a lot of intricacies about James Bond, but you feel like they've gone past that many years ago where you can, like, the franchise allows character to kind of fit the attributes of that particular actor. Whereas with this, because he's done 4 films in one continuous story, and he just suits the character so much, and I just can't imagine anyone else in the role. It wouldn't feel right if they recast it. And I think in terms of, if you're looking in 10 years, 20 years, looking back at action cinema, I think the John Wick films will still, the fact that he's on Fortnite, I think tells you everything.
Yeah, true.
He's a Fortnite character.
Yeah.
He's a Fortnite skin or whatever. I think, because of this style now, because audiences are not daft and producers realize now in the 21st century that people want to see more realistic stuff. People want to see more, more. They're not fooled, So I think this wide lens, basic direction will continue, and there will certainly be new franchises that will come into play where they do this type of thing. Where you're seeing things for real, obviously with Tom Cruise and stuff, and the Bourne stuff and James Bond. They all kind of borrow stuff from each other, don't they?
Yeah.
But the one thing that stays true is the actor that's cast as this action guy is expected to do the vast majority of the
Right.
stunts for real in camera without special effects added. And another favorite of mine is the Raid films from Gareth Edwards. Unfortunately, he's kind of struggling to get Havoc off the ground.
Oh.
He's struggling to get Havoc finished with Tom Hardy, which is a shame. But he's another guy that's director like Chad Stahelski that is very much like, yeah, let's have these wide lenses as close as we can, but showing the actors do their stuff because they're incredible, and not fool our audience and just cut around. I feel like there is still
Somebody
room
else.
for action films where you can cut around to create good style, but you've really got to be really skilled and quite sophisticated about that now, and really showing enough there to show that the actor is doing it, so yeah, I think John Wick will definitely John Wick will still be around, and people will remember this franchise for sure, in 20 years time. But it will just be interesting to see where Hollywood goes in terms of this style of action, whether other kind of types of franchises will kind of not necessarily copycat it, but whether they all kind of take the baton on of this type of style, moving forward. I don't know, but because there will always be that thing of just like, okay, they're just copying John Wick, they're just copying the Raid,
Oh.
So
How far could you go down that well?
yeah,
That
yeah,
well's very, very long.
yeah,
And look, I think it's potentially what could happen is and I think in the future, we are going to see more films like this because as
Mm,
much as I love my superhero films, that bubble is going to burst eventually. You
yeah.
know, same thing with what happened with the Western. Same thing that
Yeah. Mm,
that's going to go the way of the Western. Superhero films will eventually, people will turn away from them for a period of time. There won't be
mm,
as many, and then
yeah.
something else is going to come out. 'Cause, action movies had their day as well, so they could come right. People might turn around and go, "Look, I want my films less CGI. I want that
Yeah.
raw action like John Wick again. I
I think
want that like Commando, those type of
it.
films."
I think it all depends on like what kind of star action, well, what kind of Hollywood actor, Hollywood actress is coming up to that age where they're like, okay, are they going into their geriatric action movie stage in their career, like Keanu is going into? But it doesn't feel like it's geriatric action. It just feels like a perfect fit for Keanu Reeves at this time in his career. You know, I can't think of anyone at the top of my head at the moment where I'm just like, this guy is at a really cool age where he could kick ass in a franchise. I can't think of anyone right now. Maybe Tom
Mm.
Hardy, yeah, but I feel like he's got too big a range as an actor to really go down that road. Whereas, because no offense to Keanu Reeves, but like he's like the essence of cool. Like Mahershala Ali, I could feel like he could do something like that. Maybe when he gets older, and it obviously is a
Oh.
shame about Blade, but so I feel like people are, yeah. I just can't think of anyone at the moment
There's no
that could
one
fit
I
that bill, kind of thing.
no. Josh Brolin.
Mm,
Well, he might be too
probably
far.
not.
He
Yeah,
might be too far
it's
gone.
not really I feel like it's someone that who had an action past, and they need to kind of return to their action roots, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like Keanu has done.
Well, that's the interesting thing with that. Like
But
Liam
then,
Neeson, he
yeah.
wasn't really an action star.
Well, yeah, neither was Denzel Washington. So ignore what I just said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can't really think of it. And if anybody, and that's the thing is, um, the whole idea of like action star is very limited.
Yeah.
No, very
Absolutely.
limited to what your definition of an action star has changed to. Because when we think about action stars, we think Keanu Reeves, we think of Arnie, we think of Bruce, um, we think of Tom Cruise.
Mm.
But in like the generation now, like you wouldn't call Tom Holland an action star. You wouldn't call
No.
Timothy
Spider-Man.
Chalamet.
No, he's too like highbrow, I think, as an
Yeah.
actor. I feel like maybe someone like one of the older MCU guys, because you've got Chris Hemsworth, who was Thor, and he's doing the Extraction films.
Well, that yeah,
But
it,
obviously that's kind of simultaneous at the moment. So, but
yeah,
maybe someone like Chris Evans, maybe like 10 years down the line for him, like
he could.
post
Yes.
Captain America, do something like John Wick. Because obviously, I know Winter Soldier came out at the same time as John Wick. So, but
Oh,
again,
Jesus
sort of similar grounded action, but well,
Yeah.
not really. But yeah, it definitely grounded action in that film to a certain extent
Yeah.
before you get
Chris
to that
Evans.
final act. So,
Yeah.
I
Chris
mean, that
Evans
that
definitely
bridge
could.
scene in Winter Soldier is still one of the best action scenes in the MCU. So,
Period.
I feel like he could be someone that could really create a character around Chris Evans. Um, and maybe
Well,
just create a little bit more of a character that it just doesn't feel like it's just another Captain America film in normal clothes.
yeah. Well, there was that other action film that he did with the Russo brothers.
Oh
Was it
yeah,
was
yeah.
it Matthew? Was it
The Gray Man.
the
Mm,
Grey Man? Yeah, and he had the mustache.
yeah. Yeah. You don't look too sure about that? Mr. Rant.
Because mustache. Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty good. I felt a tad underwhelmed a little bit because I feel like the end of that film was very much underplayed on purpose, which was really interesting way to go with like the final action fisticuffs fight with Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling. Yeah, so yeah, I feel like he could do it, or even Ryan Gosling maybe. But I feel like Hollywood are kind of pushing Ryan Gosling into more of the comedy side of his career now, and less of the. I know you had the Fall Guy this year, and that was very much a film that celebrated stunts and action, which is great. I've still not seen that yet, but that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. But yeah, Hollywood, I feel like is positioning him in more of the comedy route rather than the action route, unfortunately.
Well, between that and Barbie.
Yeah, basically because of Barbie. Which I love, by the way. I love the Barbie film.
That was so much better than what I thought it was going to be. I went in with low expectations, and I came out of there going, that was actually pretty fucking good. That was pretty solid. And and that was that was a rare cinema experience up in Barbie.
Yeah, I don't think that kind of Hollywood event will happen again anytime soon. I feel like people are trying to do it again with other stuff like Wicked and Gladiator, but I don't think that's going to happen. There was something before that as well that was trying to push.
And I think next year there's another one. I think it's Fantastic Four. I think Superman come out the same week. Or the
right,
yeah. So it's Superman versus Fantastic Four, or they're a week apart. But you're right, nothing's gonna come having that. No two films of box office is going to be improved because of the other again.
Absolutely.
But actually speaking of like Cillian Murphy, I can't imagine him doing any action.
No, he's not really an action guy. I do love him in Peaky Blinders though, and they're shooting the Peaky Blinders film right now as we speak.
Yep.
And I'm very excited about that.
Yep. That's meant to come out next year?
I think so, yeah. Netflix.
Yeah. Ooh, Netflix. All right, but look, let's wrap up this celebration of the 10-year anniversary of John Wick. How would you describe the John Wick franchise in 4 words or less?
Okay.
Yeah, I got you with that one.
Brutal, cool, Baba Yaga, pencils.
No, pretty much the team. Mine would be John fucking cocksucking Wick.
I didn't see any cocksucking in these films.
No. Okay. I couldn't think of another word that rhymes with it. Bloody. Anyway, bloody.
That's some fan fiction right there for Mr. Rant.
Oh, God. Well, hey, it's going to anime territory. You know what happens next.
We're going to see John Wick's pee-pee in anime.
And that kills somebody with a pencil as well.
That's what we want to see. In the anime show, John Wick kills someone with his dick.
Still voiced by Keanu Reeves. In the Duke Kaboom voice. But no, look, thank you so much for coming on this episode, man. Anyway, on that note, thank you so much for coming on this episode, man. It's always a blast. And please, for everyone who's listening and watching, definitely go check out the Film versus Film podcast. This man produces a fantastic show every single time. He has not missed. So definitely go check out his show. We'll all be in our show notes, as always.
Thank you. My pleasure, as always. Yeah. Nice to see you, man.
Always in. Let's just ignore the fact that I forgot to press the record button in the first 20 minutes.
That's all right.
As always, everyone, thank you for coming past. And until next time, happy ranting.
Thanks for listening to Lights, Camera, Rant. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a rating and review, and be sure to tell your friends. Until next time, happy ranting.